I am going to turn our presentation over today to Sarah Koenig, Pam Van Kampen, and Shannon Gabriel, all from Wisconsin. They are here to share with us about the enhanced determine tool that they've been utilizing. They're going to tell us a little bit about how it was created, how it's currently being utilized, and plans for future use. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to allow you all to take over.
Thank you so much, Erin. Hi, everyone. Sarah Koenig. I'm the Elder Nutrition Program Manager in Wisconsin's State Office on Aging. And I'm really excited today because I got to bring some of my close colleagues, Pam Van Kampen and Shannon Gabriel. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the structure of Wisconsin to give you an idea of the lay of the land here, and then also the agencies that Pam and Shannon work for. And then I'll hand it over to them, and then they can kind of further introduce themselves and talk about the enhanced determine tool that they have been creating and implementing. So just as a little bit of background, and I think I've shared this in other meetings before too, but we like to think that we're pretty unique here in Wisconsin, the way that we're structured. We have just 3 area agencies on aging. We have the Greater Wisconsin Agency on Aging Resources, which is where Pam works, and Pam's a registered dietitian there and part of a 3-person nutrition team. And we have 2 county-based area agencies on aging that represent our most populous counties in Wisconsin. So we have the Milwaukee County Division on Aging, which is a county-based AAA in our Milwaukee region, which is our largest city. And then we have the Area Agency on Aging of Dane County, which is where Shannon works. And she's also a registered dietitian there. And so she works with the area where my office is located in Madison, Wisconsin. So Pam's Area Agency on Aging works with the remaining 70 counties and 11 tribes within Wisconsin. So our state law requires that every county and every tribe in Wisconsin has a county or tribal aging unit. So those are Pam's providers in her service area. So it makes things a little different than maybe it might be in other states. So just want to put that out there as they're explaining how they're utilizing the tool. That might be some good background to have. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time because I really want to allow both Pam and Shannon to give you information on this. The enhanced determine tool is truly Pam's creation. Pam is truly a treasure to our network. She's been doing this work for several decades, so she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to her work, and she's always willing to share it with others. So I'm happy that she gets to do that here. She's had a very long-standing interest in malnutrition, and she's been holding stakeholder groups and creating a lot of tools and resources over the years to help really facilitate collective action around addressing malnutrition. So this is her brainchild, and we're very thankful for her leadership and expertise that led to its creation, and her willingness to work with others throughout the network to obtain feedback on it as it's being rolled out. So I'm going to turn it over to Pam, and she can give a little bit of background on the creation of the tool, and then we'll switch over to Shannon, who will talk a little bit about the implementation. Her agency was the first to really implement the tool last year. And then we'll maybe come back to Pam, and Pam can talk a little bit about how her agencies are going to utilize it in the coming year. Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you, Sarah, for your gracious introduction and your kind words. Thank you. It's an honor to be here and talking with you all and just sharing a little bit about this tool. So how it was created, as Sarah referenced, malnutrition has always been a part of my heart. I used to be a clinical dietitian for 10 years. When you said I've been here for decades, Sarah, it made me feel super old. I just had that epiphany that, wow, that's true. 26 years in the Aging Network so far. But the reason the malnutrition was the first driver for this. We were trying to figure out what are ways that we can best screen people for malnutrition, and most importantly, uncover those root causes that could be contributing to malnutrition. And I know some of us haven't had all the love in the world for the 10 determined questions, but I thought, we have to use them. What's the best way we can reframe that a little bit? So we kept the validity of the 10 questions, didn't change anything about them. We still have the 10 determined questions, but then we have the second column that just drills down a little bit farther, because I feel like the first question will crack the window, and then our follow-up column of questions kind of opens that window a little bit further. And then our third column is referrals and interventions that we offer through our programs, just as a way to better connect all of our programs together, and then either internally or with our external partners, with the goal of hopefully having a person-centered plan by the end of this. So that's a little bit about why and how it was created. I was actually in a conference, I think in San Francisco one year, an aging conference, and I was in a malnutrition web session, and the stuff was just coming to me. So I just wrote it down. And so this form is customizable. I would love for anyone who is adopting it to work with us, and we can make it better, and maybe all be utilizing the similar form so we can track outcomes. But that data that we collect through this tool helps us make more informed decisions. Yeah, and it's also a door opener for additional conversations that we want to have, like with potential partners, healthcare systems, or the VA, or food pantries, or grocery stores. So, and then I'll leave it there, and I'm going to pass it over to Shannon in a second, and then, because I could talk all day about it. But I don't know how you want to do questions, if you just want to wait till we're done, or if you want to type them in the chat, or however you want to do that.
Either way, I think is fine. If people have questions along the way, that's you're more than welcome to unmute and ask them or put them in the chat. Otherwise, we will leave plenty of time for comments and questions. And Pam, I don't know if you knew, but you can share your screen. You should have screen sharing capabilities, unless maybe Shannon is going to do that next.
I am going to share my screen and show the enhanced determine that we use in Dane. Pam, do you want me to go on to that?
Sure. Thank you, Shannon, so much.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I can't see all of you, so someone else will let me know if there's any questions. But let's see here. Can you see the home delivered meal assessment on my screen? Yes, okay. I don't see the green surrounding bar. Okay, great. So this is our enhanced determine that we started using last April. And what I wanted to show you is really where we start the questions here on the enhanced determine questions pathway form. So this is what Pam was talking about, where we have the question on the left. In the center column, we have, some follow-up questions, and then the referrals. And this is really where the bread and butter is, because I highlighted here in yellow all the ways that this person, if they are at risk, have something going on. The highlighted yellow sections are all the ways that they would connect with me. So my position with Dane County, I'm the Senior Nutrition Program Dietitian, and I'm also the Healthy Aging Coordinator. So for this person with question number 1, I have an illness or condition that made me change the kind and or amount of food I eat. If they get a referral to the dietitian, great, that's me. Then it would be, there's a couple other referrals in there, but Stepping Up Your Nutrition, that's a class that I teach, thanks to Pam, starting that program in Wisconsin about protein and hydration. I coordinate and teach a lot of the healthy aging classes. So if they're being referred to healthy bladder, healthy bowels, healthy living with diabetes, healthy living with chronic conditions, or any other evidence-based classes, Stand Up and Move More, I teach that one too. So any of these referrals in yellow, they're then touching base with me, which is great. So then just as I scroll down here, question number 2, I eat fewer than 2 meals a day. We have all these great follow-up questions here to help us dig into it a little bit further. And I guess I just want to stop there for a moment and explain who is doing this assessment for us. So in Dane County, we are huge. We have 12 different senior centers here. And at each senior center, we are so lucky to have typically between 1 to 3 social workers at each senior center that works with our population. Except for one exception is for the city of Madison. That senior center has, let's see here, I wrote that down, 18 social workers. So really through each senior center, we have social workers there that then do this enhanced determine assessment every year. We're using the enhanced determine assessment for anyone that is participating in home delivered meals. And then we use what I call the basic determine assessment for anyone that is just having congregate meals at our sites. So what else? I think I'll progress on from there. So with this question, you can see, there's a lot of referrals in the right-hand column, but of course they can, right at the top there is refer to dietitian for further assessment.
Shannon, I just wanted to mention or highlight that in the second column of this question, those 3 questions that you'll see, how often do you feel you lack companionship? Those 3 are the UCLA loneliness questions. So they are a validated screening tool for loneliness. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's embedded in there. Thank you, Shannon. Carry on.
Yes, pop in whenever you want. Okay. All right. So then we have, I eat few fruits, vegetables, or milk products. Lots of questions for the social workers to dig in further. And then again, they'll be referred to me if they see that would be good. And then also I do the Senior Farmers Market Voucher Program. So another way that they're going to cross my path. Here I have 3 or more drinks of beer, liquor, or wine almost every day. Again, referring to the dietitian for further assessment, referred to stepping up your nutrition. So a couple of touch points right there as well. And then with dental issues, dental or mouth issues, a referral to the dietitian, but lots of great referrals and follow-up questions here. Okay. I don't have enough money to buy the food I need. So always they're going to be referred to our senior meal sites. And then in addition, we have a lot of community meals, not just senior based, but then they'll be coming in contact with me that way as well. And then also referred to dietitian for tips on how to make meals on a budget. And then I eat alone most of the time. They'll get a referral to me when they're arranging transportation to the senior dining site. That's a possible touch point, referring to the community meals and senior dining locations. And then I also forgot to mention that anytime that there is a referral to the ADRC, my office at the Area Agency on Aging is actually within the ADRC building. So I receive a lot of referrals that way as well. So another touch point. I take 3 or more different prescribed or over-the-counter drugs a day. So another, more ways to dig in here, supplements, vitamins, herbs, medications, and then referral to the dietitian as well. You're seeing a pattern here. And then without wanting to, I have lost or gained 10 pounds in the last 6 months. And this, I would say, is the biggest cause for referral. So a lot of unintentional weight loss. So of course, the only referral right here, refer to dietitian. So I get those all the time. I am not always physically able to shop, cook, and or feed myself. Again, lots of refer to the dietitian, refer to the evidence-based classes that I coordinate and teach, and then refer to stepping up your nutrition, which I teach as well. And then of course, refer to the ADRC for adaptive equipment. So if they hear anything related to cooking or food or nutrition, then they'll refer that person to me as well. We also added on a 2-question MST, so a malnutrition screening tool. And Anytime someone is at risk here, of course, it's going to go right along the lines of them losing weight in that prior question. But anytime someone is at risk for malnutrition, refer to the dietitian for follow-up. We also ask everyone food insecurity questions and determine where they lie there. And of course, refer to the dietitian, refer them to community meals, which includes the senior meal sites. And so they would cross my path there as well. Now, at the end of the assessment, the case manager, social worker, they are taking these 3 pieces of information and putting it into our SAMS or state reporting system. So they put the determined score or their nutrition risk score in there. And then also they report their MST screening score, and then also whether they're food insecure or not. And we're going to use these 3 pieces of information if we ever would down the road have to have a waiting list. We're also using it for later on in the year. I'm trying to start a breakfast program that goes in addition to our lunches, and we are using this information to gather people to be in that pilot group. So people that have a really high determined score are at malnutrition risk and are food insecure. So that's what we're using this information for. We are also unique in Dane County that we don't automatically sign everyone up for 5 meals a week. So if someone has a determined score that is low risk, 0 to 2, they will get 2 meals per week. And if someone is at moderate risk, the 3 to 5, they'll get 3 meals per week. And if someone is high risk, 6 or more, they will get the 5 meals per week. But then we do always put it in our social workers' hands that they can override that system if they see fit. I do want to talk a little bit about how this ties into my nutrition counseling, but Pam, is there anything else that you wanted me to bring up, or do you have something else to bring up?
Thank you, Shannon, for covering that so beautifully, first of all. I just wanted to let folks know the version that Dane County uses is customized a bit to their needs. So their 3rd column is customized for them. The copy that you have, I think, is the general form. So it might have a few different things in that 3rd column. I wanted to point that out. And as you might have seen, the UCLA loneliness score is embedded in 3 of the questions now that relate to possible loneliness and isolation. And just to clarify, they don't, because a lot of times people get really scared by this form because it's so long, but they only ask the 2nd and 3rd columns if the answer is yes to the 1st column. So I just wanted to clarify that. And on the other version that you guys, I think, have, there's a final page. It's like a notes and summary page. The initial vision for all this was an ACL grant. We wrote for one of those. And then the hope was to convert it into like a something in electronic on a tablet that you could just click, 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 and you get to the 3rd, the 3rd column. And then at the end, it would give you a person-centered plan. And so we don't have that click, click, click yet. But there is like a summary page on the version that you all might have where you can kind of take and summarize some of the things that are in the 3rd column. Thank you, Shannon. That's all I had there.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And then there's a few things in the chat. First of all, Renee said this is fantastic, so thank you. Mary was wondering who will follow up on the things that aren't in yellow, the things that don't touch your work, Shannon.
Yes, so that is the case manager, the social worker's responsibility. So typically they continue to work with this person throughout the year at different touch points. So they would refer them to these other resources and then follow up with that individual at a later time to see, did they follow up and get in touch with the ADRC or with a community meal site. So that's the social worker's responsibility. Also talking about referrals, they get referred to me 2 different ways. They may tell their social worker that they want the dietitian to call them. They're really interested. And so then the social worker will contact me, give me their contact information, and I'll reach out. But I do prefer if the case manager, social worker says, here's Shannon's information, please reach out, because I am just one person for the entire county with all this nutrition counseling and contacts. So I find that when I have someone that contacts me about their nutrition, they're really interested and ready to work. So it's a couple different ways that they touch base with me. Okay.
That relates to Leanna's question where she said, how do you handle the volume of all of the referrals, and do you call all of these individuals?
Yep, I call all of them. So really last year, since starting the Enhanced Determine, we started to see an increase in counseling numbers, and maybe we can circle back to any other questions. I'll talk about the counseling since we're kind of touching on that. But last year, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okay, so last year, January through December, and I think we started using the Enhanced Determine around April. I counseled 38 people, and that resulted in 116.5 counseling units, since it was units last year. This year, so far, up through March, so January, February, March, I've connected with 38 people. Oh, sorry, back up. Last year was 38. This year, January through March, I counseled 25 people so far, and that has resulted in 34 counseling sessions. And just to kind of give you an idea of how much time this takes, I offer counseling sessions through Zoom, phone, and in-person home visits. Always that initial session is going to be 1 hour in length. And if I do a follow-up with that individual over phone or Zoom, it's just a half hour. And that might be 4 weeks or 6 weeks down the road, depending on what we're working on. And sometimes it's just one appointment and they're done. They've got all the information they need and they're off and running. If I do any in-person home visits, which the majority of my appointments are, people love that option because they don't have to go anywhere. I'm coming to them. I can see what they're purchasing, what's in their kitchen, their fridge. Any in-home appointments are always an hour, because once you're there, it's really hard to stop the conversation. So I just always plan for that. Let's see here. I wanted to say that in, let's see here, 2021, so last year, April through December, out of my 38 people that I worked with, 16 of those, so about 42%, were referred to me through the Enhanced Determine tool from case managers. So about 42% of the people were referred from Enhanced Determine. And so far this year, January through March, I'm seeing that it's about 1/3 or 30%, sorry, 35%, I think I calculated, has come from Enhanced Determine referrals. What else? The other 2/3 is coming from ads that we run for my nutrition counseling services in our senior center newsletters. I also do publications, my nutrition newsletter that I send out with all the home delivered meals and have at the congregate dining sites. And then I also make nutrition placemats that they set their plate on at the dining centers, and we advertise my nutrition counseling that way. What else? I've been also receiving referrals from healthcare providers in my county. They recognize the need that, really insurance is going to cover an appointment with a dietitian for heart disease and diabetes, but not many other things. So they recognize that need. I am also getting referrals because an appointment with a dietitian is 2 or 3 months out, and this person is newly diagnosed and they don't understand how to eat. And so they will connect with me in the meantime until they get their appointment with the dietitian at the clinic. And that's always helpful. Let's see here, just a couple other things here about counseling is I wanted to share the common reasons for a consult that are coming through. And out of the, let's see here, 25 people that I'm working with so far this year, 6 of those patients have unintentional weight loss. 4 patients were referred because they have dizziness, they're weak, and they have low energy. 6 patients are pre-diabetic or newly diagnosed with diabetes. A couple had chronic kidney disease, stage 3 or 4. 3 patients had no added salt or low sodium eating plans that were newly prescribed. A couple of them had digestion issues causing bowel incontinence, and then some gastric reflux. So those are the common referral reasons. And the outcomes that I'm seeing just from meeting with these patients is, of course, weight gain. I've been seeing that, which is awesome. The other thing is I meet with a lot of people that are pre-diabetic or newly diagnosed with diabetes, and we see a huge change in their blood sugar control, lowering their A1Cs. They understand what carbohydrates are, and really just increased confidence overall, because when I'm meeting with them in their home, they aren't afraid to ask questions. It's not intimidating. I feel like they just understand everything so much better and feel comfortable, just asking and making sure that they understand. And then I'm seeing that increased confidence when they're working with their primary care provider too. So that's really everything with nutrition counseling. I can see more questions coming in, so we can tackle those, or Pam can take over.
Just going to add on the nutrition counseling piece, we have been using this tool because most of our local programs don't have a full-time Shannon. I mean, Shannon is a rock star. And so most of them, we are blessed to have her, don't have that many hours of a dietitian. So they're using the Enhanced Determine to drill down to see who really truly needs to be seen by a dietitian. And I can share some of that stuff if we have time. What we're doing, like some prioritization and some pathways. And so we're using it that way. But for nutrition counseling in our malnutrition work group, we're also putting together a procedure and a process for all of us to follow in Wisconsin. So they're all like recording it the same way, all doing goals and how to record those. So some of the outcomes that we had for this Enhanced Determine in general were increase the number of counseling sessions that occur, because that was really low in our state. And so that was one of our outcomes. Increase the referrals to our high-level evidence-based programs and our other programs and services, because these are warm handoffs, if you will. Increase our caregiver support services, and just letting folks know that internally increasing all our programs and services, but also externally having more partnerships and referrals to the independent living centers and even the VA. We even ask a question about the honor flight on there, because I worked for the VA for a while, and I know that that is so huge for vets to be able to do that honor flight and be honored for their service, especially the Vietnam vets who were not in many cases. So you'll see some things that seem random in there, but they can be the root cause of what is contributing to them not eating. So I'm gonna stop there again. Sarah.
I just wanted to pop in because Pam, you made a really good point. In Pam's service area, the majority of the programs, the majority of the aging units that are their providers are in really rural areas. And so they don't, like she said, have a Shannon. And a lot of times we do require that all of our county and tribal aging units at least contract with a dietitian. But a lot of times that relationship is very minimal, and we've really struggled to get nutrition counseling as a regular practice that is done in her service area. So this, as Pam mentioned, is a way to at least get, prioritize a few people that they can refer to nutrition counseling to get started, because there's no way that they would be able to do the volume that Shannon can do in Dane County, and they don't have case managers doing those assessments and screenings. In some cases, even in our really tiny counties, they might have a volunteer doing that. So that's why I think it was really easy for Shannon to pick this up and run with it, because she had a lot of resources, and some of our smaller programs are taking a little bit longer to implement the tool, understandably. So there's kind of a different intent in Guar's service area to try and get the providers to get their feet wet with using it. Shannon, we did have one question that's for you. During your counseling visit, does the individual set measurable goals?
Yes, definitely. So just nutrition counseling is a huge passion of mine, and that's really where my work history was. I worked in nutrition counseling, did nutrition counseling 8 hours a day in my previous role prior to coming to the Aging Network. So I make sure to focus on, what are you going to work on between now and the next time that we visit together? Whether it's eating a certain amount of protein per day, eating a certain amount of meals per day, weight gain, it has to be something attainable and realistic. And we, at the end of every counseling appointment, I make sure that they understand what it is that they're working on always. And then too, I saw the question, do you call these individuals? How do you handle the volume of all these referrals? So we have so many people in Dane County, but still, even with all of this, like all these questions that we're asking and all the advertising that I do for nutrition counseling, like right now, I was just looking at my month of April calendar, and I have, let's see here, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 14 nutrition counseling sessions on my calendar for the month of April. And so some of those are an hour, some are half-hour appointments, and then I figure drive time as well, since I'm doing home visits for most of those. So it's not like I'm doing 10 hours of counseling a week. It seems like it would be more than that because of all the refer to dietitian follow-up on the form, but it is still plenty. And I have noticed that I've had to rearrange my schedule to start taking care of more of the nutrition counseling that's happening.
Thanks, Shannon. I did want to circle back to Maureen's question. She was wondering if there's a decision tree or a reference to assist the social worker's decision to refer to other federal nutrition programs. And just a side note for everyone, you might have seen the word food share. In Wisconsin, food share is our SNAP. So that's, obviously something you could customize as well if you utilize the tool. But she was wondering if there's a decision tree or reference that helps them determine like whether they refer them to food share or SNAP or the Commodity Supplemental Food Program or the Farmers Market Nutrition Program.
Oh, we're working on that. I can share the screen and show you the draft. And is that okay, Sarah, if I show that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's share my screen and then, is this it?
While you're pulling it up, I also wanted to mention that in Wisconsin, we have every county has an Aging and Disability Resource Center or an ADRC that is also a partner in referrals to providing information and assistance and then referring people to some of these federal nutrition programs and to our program as well. And they work better in some counties together than others, but they are usually working together. So that is a resource that we have as well. Okay, Pam, I see it.
Okay, so thank you, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is one, I know it looks busy, and I used to have one that I called the Beautiful Mind Map, but we have 3 of these. This is, hopefully you can see the full screen and not all the stuff that I'm seeing. Okay, this is option 1, and I called it to optimize your nutrition status because no one wants to be called malnourished, so that's a conversation stopper right away. So this is if you utilize the regular determine, and then you complete the regular determine for everybody. And so this is kind of how Dane County does the 2 meals, 3 meals, 5 meals. If someone was at high risk for the regular determine questions, then they could be referred to complete the enhanced determine, or if they're food insecure, they would complete the enhanced determine. And then there's these root causes down here that we make the referrals to, check, check, check. Or these other box where everybody can go to nutrition ed, because we're trying to build on our website a lot of nutrition education that can cover a lot of things like basic things with diabetes, heart disease, just a lot of brain health questions that can kind of vet out some people that aren't totally interested or bought into nutrition counseling, because a lot of times, sadly, when we say, do you want to talk to the dietitian? Most people say no. But so we do have nutrition education options, and we're trying to build more things there. But then down here is when they refer to the dietitian, it would be internally if you have one, but if you don't, maybe you're going to refer to the healthcare dietitian. And then you can start that process. And another opportunity is if you work with Hy-Vee, they have nutrition counseling available, either in person or Zoom or via phone, and you can contract with them, as I know Iowa did and had great success. So thank you, Alexandra, for all your work that you did with them. But so this is just one option. And then the next option is if you want to ask everyone, 3 questions. Then the third option is if you want to ask everyone right away the enhanced determine, and then you find out their scores. And so right now we have 3 little pathways, and they tie back into another thing we are working on, which is prioritization. So those 3, the determined score, the MST, and the food security score, those kind of all go into this priority 1, 2, and 3. And if you get to the point where you need to like prioritize meals, or you want to prevent wait list, this is something that we're working on for meal prioritization as well. So to your point, we're working on pathways. We continue to work on them and refine them. This is not my skill set, as you can see, but it's not horrible. It's better than it was. But if anyone has skills around this area, but this is kind of the way the assessor would look at it and know, especially back up to this one with the prioritization, what kind of service, go here. Then I do I schedule the home visit. I figure out what priority are, how many meals a week, etc. So, and then these are some other programs and services. So long story short, we're still working on it, and we're trying to get that pathway refined, long parallel with while we're also trying to finalize the nutrition counseling process that we could all be unified using throughout the state. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great.
Stop sharing.
Ellen had a really good question. And I think it's for you, Shannon. How have the social workers, have you determined the length of time it generally involves for them to go through the enhanced determine versus what they were doing before?
I don't know the time difference, to tell you the truth. They haven't said how much more time it takes them, but I can tell you that none of them mind using the enhanced determine. I've actually gotten tons of feedback saying that they like the questions in the middle to help them dive into each topic further. It just helps them to feel more comfortable knowing which, just to go down the list and ask different questions just to dig further. So I've gotten lots of feedback, not about how much time it's taking, but that they love that opportunity to have those questions right there to guide them.
Yeah, that's great. And I think Pam and I have discussed, as it's rolled out within Guar service area, that it would be good to do a study to see the difference in the time, because that will be inevitably a question from some of our smaller programs before they sign on to do this, because time is limited and their resources are limited. So that for sure is an outcome that we're looking to measure as well. And let's see. There was a question about how are you finding dietitians to work with the rural area? I think this means like your providers, Pam.
Mhm.
And do they have the money to pay for the dietitian to do nutrition counseling? And
yeah, that's why some of them were using a different version of that pathway to kind of vet them out. Only the people that were like high risk after the enhanced determine. Because if you, as all of you know, if you take just the determine questions and do high risk, you're gonna have a really high percentage. But if you vet them out a little bit more through the enhanced determine, where we ask the MST and the food security questions, a lot of times you'll be able to address some low hanging fruit in there. Like the food security question doesn't always need to see a dietitian. They need connected to food and access to food and transportation or SNAP or food share. Then the high risk folks, then we can, by the additional information that we ask, it helps us get to the ones who most truly need it. So how we find the dietitians, we contract with WIC a lot of times. We contract with healthcare centers sometimes, but like Shannon said, many healthcare centers aren't having enough RD hours on their own. We have some retired dietitians that we contract, or some, especially since COVID, there's a lot more dietitians that have gone into their own private practice. And so then they're able to do the counseling over the phone, or now with technology via Zoom and electronic platform. So we've just seen a bigger window open for the RDs there. And we are lucky because in Wisconsin, more and more of our nutrition directors are dietitians. But even with that said, they still don't have time to add nutrition counseling on top of all their other stuff. So we also do work a lot with internship programs throughout the state. And as they intern with us throughout our programs, a lot of times when they leave, we're able to, well, especially with COVID funding, I know Milwaukee and I think Waukesha are going to combine and put in some ARPA dollars to do a 1-year study and hire like a full-time contract dietitian to do the nutrition counseling between the two counties. So actually, if you have some extra money right now with the ARPA, it's a good time to pilot this and help make your case and get the data, and to be able to show even to your Medicare Advantage plans, your insurance companies, your managed care organizations, to see if they will then pay for and reimburse you for these services so it can be sustainable in the long run. So this is a nice time to kind of make that business case, if you will. Is that helpful, Sarah?
yeah, I think so. And the question about, so generally our programs offer home delivered meals across the state 5 days a week. In Shannon's case, she had mentioned about how they do sort of a prioritization based on nutrition risk. And that went into place, if you've been around for a while, the sequestration days back in like 2013, 2014, when there were cuts to programs. Dane implemented that to avoid a waiting list. So the highest risk individuals would get meals 5 days a week. Moderate risk might be 4, and then low risk might be 3. It just kind of depends on the nutrition risk, but there is the ability for those social workers to override that determination from the determined score. So if they know, for example, that a person really needs meals 5 days a week and not 3 days a week, but their score indicates maybe that they would need them 3 days a week, they would bump it up. But that was something they put in place to avoid a waiting list. And it's really continued because demand, as you all know, is really high for home delivered meals right now. Great questions, everyone. Pam, did you get a chance to talk about, you got a chance kind of to talk about the future and how you're planning to implement this in a few counties, a variety of ways?
I forgot to mention that Barron County, one of the ways they're going to utilize this tool is for their community health worker. So more and more of you may be getting community health workers on board, and this also helps them, with those conversations to kind of, but they're trying to determine if there's certain questions in there that are going to trigger that referral to the community health worker versus them doing all of these for everybody. So that's how they're kind of framing it. They might put it in they have an IDT department there that might put it in a little bit more easy to use format, like the vision of it where we click, click, click with that the plan at the end. So that's how they were going to use it. Some people are using it, like I said, for prioritization with their home delivered meals. And then let me see what my other notes said. Oh, if they want to start partnering with a hospital, how we talk about continuity of care, continuum of care. Some places are trying to, our community-based organizations are trying to make inroads in with the health system. And so they want to say, hey, instead of just writing non-compliant in a patient's chart, we actually know why they're not having the outcomes that you want, because they don't have access to groceries, because they don't have the ability to hold the spoon, they can't stand to cook at the stove. And so this enhanced determinant with those second column of questions really help us uncover a lot of those upstream social determinants of health. So there's different ways it can be utilized, and those are a couple of the ways that we're looking at right now. But I didn't even mention the whole caregiver support thing. It also ties into there, because we know a lot of caregivers become malnourished and stressed. So it can help us identify some opportunities there as well. Just there are low-hanging fruit that we can address that can really have big return on investment, I think. So we're excited about it. And I hope if you guys use it, or if anybody else is excited about it, that we can continue a conversation, because I already have some edits that, I want to add to it. But like I said, this is customizable, make it work for your state. But I do hope that you find it as a tool that you can use. And we'll continue to share anything that we produce, because that's just what we do.
Thanks, Pam.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to just mention is that this is not required by the state office at this time, statewide. Although, since I mentioned we have 3 area agencies on aging and 2 of them are here doing it. And Milwaukee, we're just entering our new aging plan cycle. So Milwaukee, the 3rd AAA, is planning to also implement it over the next 3 years. So the AAAs have sort of willingly done this, so I haven't had to require it. But one of the things that is in a goal of mine in the state aging plan is to require the use of the malnutrition screening tool across all of our providers. So, even if only a few of Pam's agencies start using the enhanced determinant first, they will have to start using, at least doing the malnutrition screening tool questions, the 2 questions, and the food insecurity questions. And that's really so that we can start to get a sense of having some more data so that we can help our agencies to prioritize, because that is such a concern right now. And really to get a sense of the risk for malnutrition across the state. So just wanted to put that out there, that this isn't a state requirement, but luckily I have great AAAs that have wanted to do this on their own. So that's wonderful. Any other questions or?
I forgot to plug Stepping Up Your Nutrition just really quickly. If you guys haven't gotten trained yet, it's an amazing program created by Judy Simon and a few other dietitians and the Maryland Department on Aging and the folks in Maryland. There's another local program, I'm going to forget the name, but it focuses on protein and hydration, malnutrition, and falls prevention. It's one time 2.5-hour class. And this is a great feeder for that. By doing this, we make that referral. And on average, all of the people that we did classes for last year, which, still COVID, so it was limited, but there was about 50 people or maybe 70, but on average, all of them, 100% were at high nutrition risk using the Screen 14 tool, which is embedded in the Stepping Up Your Nutrition class. So that just gives you another data point if you're trying to make your case to the whoever about the prevalence of community-based malnutrition. It's a real thing. And I believe it's preventable if we can identify these things. So it's
Yeah.
inexpensive to get trained. So if you're interested in that, I think that's a great one. If you haven't had them speak on this call, maybe you have. But
Yeah, I'm not sure if Latanya is on, but shout out to Latanya and her state of Maryland for helping. And of course, Judy while she was there.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Your name
Yeah,
looked
I'm
different.
just using my own personal computer, so it doesn't say Latanya, it says Tammy. But the organization is called the Living Well Center of Excellence is the other.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep,
Yeah.
stepping up your nutrition. Yep, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, Sarah, Pam, and Shannon, for sharing with us today. Being new to the network, I am like learning a ton, and today was a huge day of learning for me. So thank you so much, and I hope that everybody got as much of it, if not more, than I did.